Hello, I think we're live. Good
We
evening,
are indeed.
everyone. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Anthea. Hi, David.
Hi, guys.
How are we? Hope everyone's well. You wouldn't believe before we just started this, we had some really difficult tech issues. So, literally to the second, we managed to get it all sorted out and then click go live. So, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. This evening, we've got a wonderful guest, Anthea. Thank you very much for giving up your time this evening to talk about, incredibly important part of the school to prison pipeline. And we met you in Jersey, and you're both funny and incredibly passionate about what you do. So, just for the people that have never watched this podcast before, what we do is we bring together lived experience and research, and just say it how it is really. We just bring people on that we think are really going to add some value to the conversation. And we've had some brilliant chats. They're very random sometimes, but yeah, they end up being really good, and we end up needing more than an hour. So, without further ado, I'll let you introduce yourself, Anthea, because yeah, you're a wonderful school teacher.
So, my name is Anthea Carroll. I'm the Deputy Head in SENCo, along with 11 other roles, which I'm very proud to hold at Springfield School. And I am neurodivergent. I'm ADHD. My son's ADHD. My husband's ADHD. Um, and we're all a neurodivergent family. And I am so passionate. I had a terrible experience of my child going through school. With no understanding and no adaptations. And it was a terrible, terrible experience. And I pledged this would never happen to anyone that ever came to our school. And then I was lucky enough to do my SENCo postgraduate, and I concentrated on ADHD. My dissertation was on parental experiences having of a child with ADHD, but I also did some research into girls with ADHD. And now my passion, and I did one yesterday, I've done one last week and the week before. I do talks around Jersey on ADHD, trying to foster an understanding, which hopefully leads to acceptance, and give our point of view. Like, we're incredibly wonderful people, and people need to know that. And I just think if we are understood better, everything will be easier. And I'm passionate about the children in our school, and I am so proud of our kids and our staff and the way we make our children feel like they belong and they're accepted, and their gifts and talents are the wonderful cornucopia of what makes our school fantastic, including all of our neurodivergents, um, and all those neurotypicals. We allow them in our school too.
No, but thank you, Anthea. And I know David. I remember sitting next to David when we were listening to you speak, and I think David had a lot of reflections, didn't you, on your experience at school, and the way that Anthea talked about the way she teaches, the way she like includes children. So, that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the importance of schools, importance of teachers, and the kind of helping people recognise those signs. But I think you touched on a really important point there, Anthea, is the parent experience, because it is really, really difficult for a lot of parents, navigating systems, navigating their own undiagnosed differences. I reflect on my childhood and those sort of moments when you're like, now as an adult, you're going, oh, the writing was always on the wall. So, yeah, it'd be really good, David, just before we begin, like, yeah, just reflecting on like when you listen to Anthea talk in Jersey, and how what was your experience like at school, and what could
Compared
we,
to what
learn
Anthea was
from
talking
Anthea?
about, it was compared to what Anthea was talking about, chalk and cheese. I mean, you didn't speak about ADHD back in the 80s, didn't speak about neurodivergency back in the 80s. So the schools back then were too quick. I say back then, they seem quick enough these days, but they were just too quick to label you as challenging and disruptive, as a troublemaker, and basically wanted you out the classroom, wanted you out the school as soon as possible. Really, once they kind of, I suppose, I don't want to say give you a few chances because they weren't really chances, but once you got a few punishments, a few detentions and suspensions, that's it. They just want to wash their hands of you. And I was just really impressed with just the way Anthea is really, and how much. I could resonate with, my God, if I would have had a teacher like that when I was that age, I doubt very much that I would have gone down the path that I did. Because I think a lot of it, obviously, teachers weren't trained back then, there was no understanding around neurodiversity back then. But even so, still no one asked me that question, what's happened to you, rather than like, do you know what I mean? Or are you okay? Basically, it was just the only place you're going to end up, mate's in prison. So they got one thing right at my school, but unfortunately, there was there was no there was nothing to intervene. It was all punishment, 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 punishment. Nothing to do with intervention at all.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good point, Anthea. Anthea, just starting on that point, really, like listening to David, like where do you see like teachers fitting in with that? Really, where do how does that look in best practice?
I had similar experience myself, David. So I, but I wanted to prove everyone wrong. So that's why I'm here. And I had that inherently in me, and that's not in everybody. So I had that fight to go, I'll show you. I'll show you. And when people said I'd fail, I wanted to show them I couldn't and I wouldn't. And I took great pleasure in rubbing it in their faces afterwards. So slightly selfish and maybe a little bit psychotic of me, but I just thought that's not okay. I knew I had it. I knew what was going on, and they just weren't given any credit. But what it's for me in our school, it's like I said at the conference, children come to school to learn. They don't come to school to be punished. They do not come to be school. We're not the police. We're not prison officers. We're not supposed to lock children in rooms. That's not what we're there for. We're there to teach. So when our children make mistakes, and we all make mistakes, they come into my room and we have a conversation. And why did you do that? And what was why? Let me understand these behaviors so I can help you. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are times where, I do raise my voice and there are boundaries put in place. But I'd say 90% of the time we sit down and we try to understand why and then pick that apart and then don't do it again. It's not about punishment, it's about teaching how to be better or how not to make those choices or how to recognize in your body when you feel you might be losing it a little bit. And we talk about the fears and that physical signs of I'm going to lose it, and recognizing that and getting yourself out of there before anything happens, and coming to see me, coming to see any teacher in our school and going, I need to get out of here. We've got exit cards, we've got brain break cards. So our children just have that time, that space to not be cornered into what are you doing. It's all about, let's talk about it and let's make it better. We want to teach advocacy. We want to teach children to be able to speak for themselves and have agency. And you do that by talking to them as adults and as grown-ups, because they're going to face a world where they're going to be dealing with that. So let's give them those tools. And that's what we try to teach. And it works quite well because they advocate for each other and it's wonderful.
Oh, yeah, I was writing some notes down just because I'm memory like a sieve, but like it's
Me
really,
too, I
so
say that all the
it's
time.
yeah. I'm getting better at it. So one of the key points you said there is understanding them, and I think there's understanding a point, isn't there? But then there's understanding how someone thinks, or why the child is thinking that way. And you said there about the fizz, and like I
Yeah.
imagine you're referring to like emotional dysregulation, and the way that like the children are starting to show the way they feel in their behaviour, and then
Yeah.
you're giving them that opportunity to go, right, how does that feel? Like, why do you want to act that way? So you're helping, not only are you understanding it as a teacher, you're helping them understand it so they can be more aware of themselves. Because I reflect on school, and David, probably you're the same. You just be impulsive, or like I'd react really quickly, and it was never seen. And I think if you just had that time to go, this is why I'm acting the way I am, then maybe half the time you would have not felt misunderstood.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, a lot of kids feel misunderstood, don't they? And they don't have an opportunity to say how they're really feeling. Do you see that a
And
lot?
belonging as well, Cole. and feeling that,
Mm.
that sense of belonging. I mean, if you don't feel a
They're
sense of belonging at
loved.
school, how are you going to learn?
Yeah.
You need to be comfortable in whatever environment you're in. And in a way, that's why I kind of learn in prison because I become comfortable in that environment. Do you know what I mean? It's strange to say, but yeah, I become comfortable in that environment. Not so much that I was in a classroom or anything like that, just the fact that prison become a safe place for me. Again, I know that's strange to say, but that's what happens when you become institutionalized. So yeah, looking back at schools, I just think they do so much so wrong, and they've been doing it the wrong way for years. And it's why can't we start looking at changing it? I mean, it's like I see exam rooms set up the same way as they were in 1950. What chance you got if you're neurodivergent in one of those environments where you got to stay quiet, you got to sit still, and when you finish your work, you got to sit there quiet? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So I hope that reasonable adjustments are being made for neurodivergent children when it does come to exams, because as I say, it's like, yeah, it's not
Yeah,
set
there
up.
is.
Well, the system isn't designed for neurodivergent children in the same way that, well, any system isn't designed with neurodivergence in mind, is it really?
No, but I think what we
Yeah.
also do is teach about the brain. We teach our children this is the part of your brain. You know, your basal ganglia isn't as receptive as others, so you react more. So be aware of that. When you're reacting like that, that's okay because that's who you are. It's not you're not bad because you react that way. You react that way because your brain makes you react that way. So don't punish yourself about it, mate. You know, we all make mistakes. We all do things impulsive. Just recognize you've done that, say sorry, and explain to that person, look, that's why I did it. And we have understanding and we just, I think, love. You know, every single child in our school is welcomed. It's not, we don't have that, oh God, you're here. We've got,
Mm.
oh great, you're here. We're glad you're here today. And they feel loved. So I don't know. It's just something about every member of staff in our school makes those children feel welcome, and it's not me. It's everybody. You know, we have fantastic people.
How
At
have
my
you
Right.
got
sec-
to that point where
at
you,
my secondary
go on,
school, I was
David.
a form teacher. The school I was in, they tried to get me in another school, but the other school wouldn't take me. And the form tutor called me and he said to me, he said, all the time I'm at that school, it's going to make it miserable for me. And I was like, that was the kind of support we got. Do you know what I mean? It was like absolutely crazy the way they were.
Yeah, it's horrendous, isn't it? How do you, on the topic of like all the teachers in your school, like how did you get them to a point where they are like that, or they can display that, that level of
Yeah.
support? And
It
because
was
I
a
imagine
journey.
like some people, yeah, I bet. What did that look like?
Um, I think it started with one particular little child that we just were like, wow, what can we do? You know, this child is like he's dysregulating all the time. He's causing chaos and like this poor child. And you could see him going into classes and teachers going, oh, and like, how did it make him feel? We had some great training, Dan Hughes Pace model. So he talks about the way of approaching children who are dysregulated. And he talks about, well, first of all, be playful with them. So when the
Mm,
P is for playful. So when you go up, it's like, all right, beautiful. You're not like, what's going on? Or, you
mm,
know, I've fallen off toilets before to be playful. I've done things to children to get them distracted and know I'm not their enemy. Oh gosh, what are you up to over there? You know, I can see you're angry.
mm,
So we do the playful and then the acceptance. I can see you're angry. It's all right to be angry. We get angry. You know, everyone gets angry. I get angry. Why are you angry? And sometimes they're so angry they can't talk, so we'll wonder out loud. I wonder if it's because you didn't want to go to that to see that teacher, or you didn't want to go outside, or I wonder if it's because somebody took your pencil. You know, we wonder out loud. And then after that, yeah, that's the curious. I wonder if. And then lastly is empathy. Oh, that must have been awful. If I had felt, if someone did that to me, I'd feel awful too. I can see why you're angry. But, you know, it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to hit the wall. It's not okay to kick the door. So let's go outside and kick a football, you know, and it's having that approach of, I can see you're angry. I look, what's going on, sweetheart? Let me understand you, and have those emotions, because we all do. But understand that with those emotions, you can't take it out on someone else. You have to take, you have to find another way. And we talk about what's the best way, that when you're angry, and all of us talk about, teachers talk about it. I go for a walk. That's the only thing that will calm me down when I'm angry. Seriously, the only thing. And so we talk about that. And when we talk about our experiences, we're open, and it's okay to have emotions. It's not control that emotion or you're out. It's like, let's understand that emotion. Let's help you with it. So Dan Hughes is fantastic. We call it the place model, because we put the L in for love as well, because our
Wow.
kids, I mean, you tell them all the time you love him. I love you. And just, most of the time I say, you're delicious and I want to eat you. But they're gorgeous.
Brilliant. Yeah. Wow. What are like, a sort of structure of questions or like points on a, you've just seen a behaviour and then you've managed to wrap around the child all of those points to try and diffuse the situation. That's pretty, such a nice thing to hear. And, if you've got all the teachers doing that, and the
Well, that's the
children
thing.
are, how many interactions you're having per day, if you're acting like, you're supporting a child in that way,
Yeah.
it must have like a compounding effect
But if
over
one
time.
person could break it, so every single teacher has to have this attitude. And I mean, we do it to varying degrees. I'm probably off the scale overboard with mine, and other teachers are a little bit more subtle. But if everyone has to have that, a child's dysregulated, they may have had a hard time, they come back into class and it's a hello, beautiful, come back in. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, he's back in the class. I mean, sometimes you might think that sometimes, but it's about showing that child they belong, and it's okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I'd
interesting you
end
say
up,
that.
I'd go back to school after a suspension, and the teachers would be saying, "How long going to last this time?" There was never, "How can we help? How can we get you through to the end of term without anything going wrong?" And for me, I kind of, you mentioned about how at the start that you were going to show them that there was no way that you were going to be a failure. With me at secondary school, I was a really good rugby player, and I started playing for my district, went for trials for my county, but then the school started using it against me. So, well, if you haven't got a school to play for, you can't play rugby. You won't be able to represent your district. You won't be able to represent your county. And it got to a point where it was just like I just heard too much of it, and it probably made me even worse. It made my behaviour even worse. Um, I believe it made my behaviour worse. Whether it did or not, I can't put my finger on it. But it wasn't kind of long after that started that I was finally permanently excluded. So it comes again. It comes back to that belonging. I mean, I don't think I was probably allowed in 50% of the classes that I was expected to do, and even then I'd be carrying about an A4 bit of plyboard, A4 size, with a report card on it, virtually all the time, and you're just constantly under surveillance, and that by itself as well does enough cause a lot of stress in you.
Well, I
Yeah,
remember being put in a maths cupboard to do my work, because but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I smashed my maths exams, so it wasn't a punishment in the end. It actually did me the world of good. But it's not good, is it? It's not nice to
Well,
feel like that.
I started off my secondary school in all the top classes, and by the time I got permanently excluded, I was in, well, what was known as remedial class.
Mm.
And that I mean that was an absolute joke. It was just, oh, yeah. So of course I'm not going to be conducive to be in that classroom. I needed to learn. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it didn't last long. Didn't last long after that.
I mean,
I think like,
we've got a way to go still. Lots of schools have still got a way to
That's what
go,
makes me
and
so
we're on a
angry.
journey.
See, when I'm talking about my experience, I'm talking about 1984. Right?
Yeah.
41 years ago. Why are we still having the same conversations now? Especially as we know more, we understand more, and we're aware of more, and we can understand about trauma and being trauma responsive and being neurodivergent affirming. But again, we're looking at 10,000 children a year being permanently excluded from school. And how many Scotland excluded last year, Carl?
Three.
Three.
It was
Right.
three in
And yeah,
2017 and 18.
I think they still got to play catch up because obviously their prison system is still overflowing, similar to ours. But I think in about 2 or 3 years, they start
Yeah,
seeing
absolutely.
numbers drop off, not because of the policies they've made around the prison system, but the policies that they made in the education system to stop exclusions.
Well, we
Yeah.
haven't
And
excluded in our schools since I've been deputy since for 8 years. You know, it's not, you're
wow.
telling that child they don't
And what
belong.
age group's that, Anthea? What age group's
So
that go
we
up
have
to?
3 to 11 year olds
Okay.
that we look after,
So
and
you should start seeing the impact of that now then,
well, in our
thinking of age
school.
groups.
I
Yeah.
mean, recently I did some training, and like within the last year, and I still I had a teacher say to me, I've got 4 of them in my class. And you're just like, oh, yeah, that's not my school, you know. And you just it's still out there, and it's changing
Yeah.
that perception, and
And imagine if he was talking about someone with an ethnic background, it'd be
wouldn't be
suspended and
allowed.
sacked.
Yeah,
Exactly. But he can get away with it because someone's neurodivergent. And yet, ADHD, you're still considered as a disability, so it comes under the Equality Act.
yeah. My thing was, imagine if that was your child. Imagine if that was your child. When you talked earlier about how did we get everyone on board? So we used Dan Hughes' PACE model, and we used an analogy. I think what was the most powerful, there was a brilliant documentary by the footballer, played for Arsenal. Anyway, I'll think of his
Yeah.
name. And he did
Ian Wright,
Ian Wright. He probably didn't
No,
play
hold
for
on.
Arsenal.
he did.
Uh, um,
He did.
and he talked about a Mr. Pigden. And when I watched
Ian
that
Wright.
documentary and he talked about Mr. Pigden, I cried. And then I played that bit at some staff training, and I went, you can be that Mr. Pigden for those children. And I think it was just, imagine if that's your child. Imagine how would you want someone to treat your child? And we used an analogy of a scared dog. So, and then it sounds primitive, but if you've got a dog that's scared, it's attacking, and that dog, it's going to attack the more you attack it. You stand back and you go, hey babe, what's wrong? Come here, sweetheart. That dog is going to come over and you're going to win it over. And violent, angry children are children who are scared. At the end of the day, that's it. Anger is caused by being scared. So let's stop making the children be scared, and then they won't be angry. And you stop scaring them by getting them to understanding patience, getting them to understand their brain, and just showing them love no matter what they do. So that's how it happened. And there's some staff still were resistant, but along the journey now, we've got to a place where everyone's on board. But thank you, Ian Wright. He really did help me on my staff training. Well done, man.
That's such a coincidence. Do you know who Peter Schmeichel is?
Yes.
He was the number 1 goalkeeper for Denmark and also played a lot of games for Man United. I see a documentary or an interview with him in it, and he was saying when he was at secondary school, he wasn't a great student, but the PE teacher would say to him, "You're going to end up playing for Denmark one day," and lo and behold, he ended up playing for Denmark one day. So what teachers tell you is
Oh
extremely,
gosh, yeah.
extremely important, especially when you're a young age and you're malleable and you're vulnerable to kind of what people say to you. That's why county lines is such an issue, because the children are sitting there vulnerable, and you've got the people from county lines that take advantage of that vulnerability.
Yeah.
And
I
And,
think
schools
it's
are putting
the
children in that position. It's crazy.
yeah.
yeah.
It-
I think that like there's a lot of shame that gets bred in school because the behaviour of the child, they may not understand why they're behaving the way they are,
They won't.
and we attach shame to that. You know, and when you say about inviting them back into the classroom, and when everyone looks at you, like I still remember in moments in school, like I remember them vividly of the shame of a particular incident, you know, and they will see that and it will be their experience of school, won't it? And that shame, that kind of othering and exclusion sticks with them. And you know, like you've just said, if you tell them something enough, they're going to believe it for the rest of their life. And unfortunately, they end up, you know, falling out of the system because they feel misunderstood and ashamed of why, you know, why they're not being understood effectively.
We teach,
Yeah, so
there's a curve that you can teach, that we teach. So your adrenaline curve, or where your dysregulation emotional curve goes up, and then it goes down to baseline. And then for neurodivergence, it goes below baseline into I'm not good enough, I'm rubbish, why do you even love me? And then you come back up to baseline.
change
So
curve.
yeah, so you don't talk to the children when you think they're on baseline, because they're going to go further down. You talk to them when they've come back up, and then you go, what's happened? Because we bring our own shame, we punish ourselves. You know, why did I say that? Why did I do that? Why did I? So why are we adding to that punishment and saying you did that because? So we take that shame away, and
Yeah.
that's, you know, that's the best thing.
And you end up masking it as well. You talk about shame, Cole, but when you get to a point of being a class clown and your classmates expect you to act that way, and you come back into the class after a particular situation, circumstance, it's not shame you feel, it's pride, because you've done exactly, you people pleased, you've been the person that your classmates and probably the teacher expected you to be, and it's like being slippered or being caned. They were badges of honour. You come out of there, yes, they freaking hurt, and you try and mask over the pain. No way I'm going to cry in front of this teacher. And then you come out and it's like, oh, you've just been kind of like, yeah. It's like, you kind of, you get the wrong reputation, but you get a reputation in the school. Point like, they're probably laughing behind your back or laughing at you rather than laughing with you. But they're like, oh yeah, you got cane, you got slip, do you know what I mean? But back then, you just take that as yeah, I'm someone. Especially when you're struggling for an identity, and
Yeah.
like I say at school, you don't feel like you belong, and you're having to mask every single day. And then with the cane in the slipper, it's teaching you that violence is acceptable.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
glad that that doesn't happen in schools anymore, but clearly goes on in secure training units, secure units.
Well,
yeah,
I
no,
had
it's
it. I had the cane, so. And I do talk about that. I did have it, you know, and I was trouble, and I was difficult at school, and I didn't stop talking, and I annoyed everybody, and I thought I knew best, and I thought my job to tell teachers how to do their job properly doesn't go down well, really.
The teachers of the 70s and the 80s were psychopaths. They'd get away, they'd throw board rubbers at you.
I
And
was stapled
yeah.
to a board.
that's what I'm saying. Or you'd get grabbed by your neck and things. I mean, they were
It's
absolute bastards. They really were. They were vicious and
wow,
violent.
Yeah,
Um,
wow.
yeah.
so,
My
yeah, we
year
have come a
five
long way, but
My year five teacher actually stapled me to the board because I wouldn't stop moving. I mean, just no.
no.
But there we
Yeah,
go.
wow. So yeah, it's interesting. It's how far we've come, but not come, if that makes sense.
But the good news is
So
we're on the journey now, whereas before
yeah,
the road hadn't even been built. So
yes,
there is a want to change things, and I think there's a want to change things because of the impact. And I don't know if you've read some of the Danish study about the economic impact. They did a
yeah,
study of siblings, those with ADHD and those without. And on average, those with ADHD cost the state, or the cost was €20,000 a year more.
yeah,
So there's an economic benefit as well to getting this right. You know, we cost
yeah,
more in medication, in doctor's visits, in A&E, prisons, police, extra help at school, all of that. So if only they thought about the economics of it, then that would be one way, because money talks. So
yeah.
um,
And that's the thing. Like in the budget yesterday, I was expecting to see more towards mental health. You know, we've just had like the autism strategy, the ADHD task force report, but like we haven't. You know, when we're looking at investment at an early age, early point, like it wasn't clear. Like, it wasn't like we are taking a stance here and we're going to invest early and recognise the consequences of this, because it's all been written in the task force report. That figure you're saying there, like there was I think it was 17, was it 17 million or billion? It was a lot. I can't remember the figure off the top of my head, but again, it's like, if we're talking their language and the figures, investment at school pays dividends in the future. But yeah, I don't know how we continue that change when we're being taxed through your teeth, and we're not, where are we putting that money?
You should live
Yeah.
in Jersey.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
We
guess
watch
it's
the
different.
budget and we go, oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
poor
I've
them.
got obviously different, but that's the good thing about Jersey in a way, isn't it? We were saying, like, it could be a gold-plated example
Benchmark.
of what
Yeah.
benchmark of what schooling could be and criminal justice. So it's good to see that
Especially
conversation really
when we know that
going.
early identification, and the research is also backing this up, that early identification means that you've got less impact on the state. You're going
Yeah.
to be more cost efficient, and also your own earnings. I mean, they looked at earnings, and you're earning on average on half if you're neurodivergent than people who aren't. And so that's less in tax and less in everything. So we've got to get it
Mm,
right, because we teach a strength-based message, like, these are the skills you've got. We're the politicians, we're the entertainers, we are the people who stand up for people's rights and become lawyers, and
mm,
we've got to teach that you're needed. There's companies actively searching for neurodivergent. Let's tell our kids that. Tell them
yeah.
that you've got to be proud and wear it as a badge. But it's not
Do you
always
That's
have
what I was,
over in Jersey? Do you have your Nigel Farage or Richard Tice or Donald Trump over there?
we don't have party politics, but we've got one party, um, who unfortunately are called Reform, but they were Reform before Reform were Reform, and they were
all
like
right.
Reform power to the people, not like Nigel
Yeah.
Farage's Reform. So Jersey was historically run by very, very rich old white men, that were in the position for so long, and no matter who you voted in, nothing changed, so nobody votes. So we've got a problem with voting, because it's inherent that those rich old Jersey men will always vote for their mates. But things are starting to change with Reform,
Mm,
not our Reform. And
yeah.
they're trying to make things better. And again, there's hope. There's new, younger blood coming into it, and not just money coming into it, which was what was historically true. And I know there's again there's a want, but when will it happen? When let's get
Mm,
moving. Let's stop dilly dallying, and let's make decisions, and start making this mandatory. I didn't
yeah.
get trained much in SEN, definitely not specifically in ADHD. It's not mandatory in Jersey at the moment, although I do offer training to teachers, through through the education department, that people can sign up for. But it needs to be mandatory. Everyone needs to know. And then we stop talking about them. 'Cause we
Mm.
start talking about us and what they can bring to our school. And isn't it
It's a whole
amazing now?
system approach.
Yeah, because our kids are going to go out into the world who are neurotypical and go, oh, yeah, we have no neurodivergence in our school. They're brilliant. They were totally understood and they thrived. So let's do that.
Mm,
So
yeah. It's what was interesting the other day as well, on the budget, they launched the funding for apprenticeships, and I thought that was a positive move,
yeah,
because the apprenticeships will allow for alternative education, instead of the traditional university route, where we know that people a lot of people are very hands-on, neurodivergent. So that's good to see. Um, I think a good point to move on to would be, how do you have you seen, like, a change in the way that you have a relationship with parents, like a working relationship, as a result of the work that you've done with teachers? Do you have better relationships with parents, in supporting the children, like communication wise, about the child
it's
support?
it's really hard to say, because I had a coffee morning on this week, for for neurodivergent parents, for anyone who wants to know about, help, support, advice. And one person turned up only because I got her into the room. And I thought, this must be because our parents feel so well supported already that they don't need to listen to it again. So we know, and I know, that to get to the child, you get to the parent first. So you build up that trust. So I made it. I'm really a year 6 teacher, but for the last 5 years, I've gone into nursery to cover their PPA time and to get to know all the little ones. And when you get to know all the little ones, you get to spot things early. You get to start building those relationships with parents because you see them at the gate, and you travel through with them. And you can probably tell I overshare and I'm over friendly and I'm totally inappropriate a lot of the time, which our parents really respect, I feel. Um, I think coming
Love it.
from my background, my dad fortunately left my mum very early, and then he died, and we were brought up quite poor in Jersey, and so my mum struggled, and then we were in a children's home for a little bit. So I can relate to parents when they say I haven't got enough food, whereas inherently a lot of our teachers are middle class, and so they don't have that. I know what you're going through, love. Let me help you out. So I think I can't imagine. I've never had a time when I haven't related to have a good relationship with parents. It's gone with me, um,
Yeah.
because they don't really have a chance. Because if I feel that they don't like me, I just relentlessly kill them with kindness until they do.
Brilliant. Love it. I love it. David, is your microphone like open? I can hear like a sound. Can you hear that, Anthea?
Sounds like
Sounds like
rain. I'm
water
loving
running.
it.
Yeah, yeah, it's really nice
It's
actually. It's great.
calming my brain.
No,
No, I think it might be
I don't
from
think
yours.
so.
Hang on, let me mute you quickly, David. Sorry,
Go on.
just mid. Yeah. Yeah, I
Maybe
think it
got a
is. It doesn't matter. I
rainstorm.
just wondered where it came from, that was all. Yeah, no, I love that. I love it. It's,
I wonder if it's me playing my fidget toy.
no, I think it's the microphone, mate. Don't worry too
Oh,
much. Oh, it's stopped now.
I
Oh, it's
stopped.
reduced. Anyway. Ah, anyway,
It's a
we got
chain, so it
distracted.
does. It's metal, the chain, so it does make quite a lot of noise.
Oh,
No, it's
okay.
not. Definitely not
No,
that.
no, it's the microphone.
Right.
It's definitely the microphone. But it's all right. It's fine. Um, I lost my train of thought now. Yeah, no, I love that,
Squirrel.
and yeah, the ability to be realistic with parents and say it as it is, and have that relatability, and say right, you know, um, I guess because the parents are probably going through quite a lot with their child. I don't know if that's something you see a lot. I don't know if you
Yeah,
see this kind of where it comes to a head, like when parents have families that are, or their children are really testing their boundaries with how they are at home, and then they come into school and they're different, and then they go home and they are masked. So do you see that? Is that quite common?
yeah, yeah, and it's heartbreaking. You get parents coming, I can't cope, I can't, this is hard, and it is hard, and it's relentless, and it doesn't stop, and you can do it because you're their mum and you have to, you know, and you just go, I can see you exhausted. You need some respite. Take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself first. And it's having those conversations. I felt the same way, you know, and it's just empathizing and what I used to do and what used to help me, and just giving them advice, and signposting them to the right people. I think that's really important as well, as having a wider network of support out there for them. We're great. We've got our CAMS has really developed over here in the last 5 years. And that's becoming a lot more supportive. And then that we've got Mind Jersey, which are amazing. And we've got the Bridge, who offer loads of help and support. So it's about putting parents in touch with like-minded others, and getting the NFPP training, for example, really helps. And we offer that at school. I offer that to parents, to help them understand it. So it is about teaching them understanding. And you're right, most of them are neurodivergent themselves.
There is a massive disconnect between schools and parents, I think, and that has been for years. Got the schools blaming the parents and blaming the schools, but unfortunately, there's a child in the middle who's missing out. Do you know what I mean? It's like I wish that there was more than just parents' evening and the yearly play or whatever for parents to get involved in the school. I think they need to get involved in the school slightly more, or at least the school needs to bring the parents in more. I think.
But then we do offer
Mm.
opportunities and they don't always take it up. And that's, I've always have to take that as a compliment. Um, but when you've got an open door policy anyway, and parents just talk to you all the time, and it is like that at our school. You know, you can have parents do feel they can have a chat and have a moan, or you know, I particularly love very angry parents when they come in because I'm just like, oh God, you're scared. What are you scared about? It's the same as a child. You know, like you're scared about your child's future. You're scared about the choices he's making. You're scared about, let's talk about that and how can we help you? And I wish I had someone doing that for me when I was going through it with my child, because I felt totally isolated and on my own. Even though I had friends to talk to, they weren't living what I was living. And it's exhausting and relentless, being a parent of a child with ADHD. But we teach them tips and ways to understand and lower their energy levels. It's the key. You know, they'll match your energy. If you're going to match, they're going to come up. So again, I try to teach them the PACE method, to use that with their children that we use. I talk that through with all the parents who have difficulties. You know, understand it. Don't go in hot. Take a breath, compose yourself, and then go in, because there's that explosion, isn't there? And don't, if my son does something and he needs a car with me, he's going to get it because I can't control myself in the car. But anywhere else, he knows. He used to at secondary school. He knew when I was cross, he'd actually get in the back and not go anywhere near me and put his headphones on. And I go, "You be my boy, don't talk." Because when I got home, I could then be myself again. So you know, no one's perfect. I still sometimes lose it. They push buttons, but if they know they're loved and understood in the whole. And you said something before about blaming parents, blaming teachers. Well, the research is saying that if parents have it right at home, they're going to be much more successful in school. So parents are that loving key. If that child knows it's coming back from a loving, accepting home, school's easier. If that
Yeah.
child knows that their behaviors at home are going to cause trauma for them, it's much more difficult. So it's about the parents are the key, in a lot of cases, and we have so many successful ADHD parents because they do it so well, but they're normally neurotypical and don't get, dragged in. There'll be one that is neurodivergent, and the one who's neurotypical tends to parent that child a lot better because they don't get triggered themselves. But as a parent, if you're
Yeah.
told, this is what you need to do, and you're going to be triggered, so be aware of that, make that adaptation. It's that agency. It's giving parents agency, giving children agency. You're in control of your emotions, control them, and tell, because the outcome's going to be the same. If you're taking your child off your iPad, whether you're going calm or going angry, they're still going to lose their iPad. So go in calm, and
Yeah.
teach them that's how to be.
No, I empathise with that. That fire that, yeah, when the parents, look back at my mum specifically and how she would go in fire and I would be then fire. So you're out trying to outdo each other, and it just reaches, it spills over. And it happened time and time again. And it's like, why does that keep happening? But now it's like, well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Like how we were, both absolutely shredded with emotional dysregulation. So yeah, it's one of the points I was going to use mention there about trauma, and how there's a lot of intersectionalities, isn't there, with when we're talking about being
Absolutely.
neurodivergent, uh, socioeconomic sort of poverty and uh, background, race, religion, everything that intersects with that. How do you approach that as a teacher? Like, is that just part of like additional training that you do with them, or is that just yeah, like it's hard to know everything, isn't it, about everything? But um, I'm just wondering how that presents in school and how you try to tackle that. Like if you've got a child that, say for instance, is struggling at home, poverty, and how do you what do you do as a teacher, and what systems are in place, what policies are in place to help those, you said about signposting, but what exactly do you think parents could do that would, yeah, make their experiences better and the child as well?
Do some training. You know, do the most parents are offered the NFPP, which is the New Forest Parenting Program. When you get a diagnosis, you're in pathway to diagnosis. So that's run by Nottingham University, and lots of establishments throughout the UK use that as a way of training parents on how to help their child. And it's a 6-week program. And so parents can sign up to that, and it's usually in person. And the best thing about it is that listening to other parents struggle, you just think, God, thank God I'm not the only one going, shoes 1,000 times in the morning, to their child. And then they build like a little network of, oh my God, I wanted to kill him, but I didn't. Oh, I could. There's that. You can be honest with each other because you know what the other parent's feeling because you feel it. So I love running the NFPP because for that reason, that parents actually find soulmates and go, oh my God, I found, a bosom friend that I can offload. And so that's part of the program. But each week you have tasks to do, like play a game, sit down with your child, find a cozy corner, and they ask you do a bit of homework, but it also teaches you tips. Such as, when your child's constantly harassing you, can I have a biscuit? Can I have a biscuit? And you're going, no, that sort of is going to go, I want a biscuit, and carrying on. So we just go, yeah, you can, babe, after you've eaten your tea. And so it just takes the power out of no. So I know there's all this talk about, like, was it precious parenting where the child's getting their own way and they don't hear no, but no to somebody with ADHD is a challenge. Like, can we change your mind? Um, Whereas, yes, you can, sweetheart, after your tea. There's not really much to fight back on that.
Yeah,
You're
not
like,
something to look
oh,
forward to.
okay, but I'm hungry now. But your tea's going to be in 5 minutes. Let's play a game before you get there. Take your mind off it.
Yeah.
And it's about teaching parents little tips like that about trying to. One of the tips is when you're trying to talk to your child, get down, get their face, give them love and say you're listening and have that face to face contact instead of going, I've already said shoes 1,000 times. Go up to them and go, hey, beautiful, can you get your shoes on for me? Because that would make mummy really happy, and
Yeah.
make it fun. And then they do get the shoes on. And so it's we talk about shadowing. ADHD people need someone with them when they're doing stuff. If your mum's there,
Buddying.
you're going to put your shoes on. If your mum's there, you're going to tidy your room. She's going to go, oh, remember the socks. And it's about not doing it for them, but being their cheerleader as they're doing it and thanking them for doing it while you're there. So it's about teaching parents tips like that as well. So I do talks. I do talks in Jersey to parents of teenagers with ADHD, and it's basically how not to kill your child. Should really be the title because they push your buttons, and they're my favourite talks because they're entertaining when they get to teenage years. I haven't had the privilege of
Yes.
teaching them, but having one of my own, wow, that's a powerful lesson.
Yeah, it's no, that's brilliant. Thank you. And like just on that point, when like obviously that they get when they become teenagers, we then see that their needs are not met at a young age, and then they start to transpire as moving towards exclusion. Do you Is there a way to like prepare children for that? Like if you see like you've got a child now who's 11, and you're seeing like you've got a package almost, right, and they're going off to big school. Like how does that how does that move like between schools, and
It's
how do
getting
you, I know
better.
you can't solve everything, yeah, like
No, it's getting
what does
better.
good look like?
Information's the
Yeah.
key. but when they've got a different philosophy to us, it's very difficult. So we do try to manage that. I know of a child, I'll say, who I've got 2 years to get them ready for secondary school, because if they show the behaviour they're showing us at the moment, then they're not going to do well. So and I've point blank said I've got 2 years to turn your honesty into palatable information, because he'll just shout out, "This is boring." So I'm going, yeah, and I get you. I get you. I'm absolutely
Yeah.
understand, because you already know what they're going to say. So I can absolutely understand why you're bored. However, that's a bit too honest. And that actual
Yeah.
child, I have to thank you as well, because I thought I didn't have a filter, but now I've met you, I know I have. Which is brilliant. And I love your honesty. However, others might not. So I've got to get you to a point where in 2 years' time, you're saying, "Excuse me, can I have a brain break? Because I need some dopamine, please." Instead of,
Brain break.
and
I
I
love it.
know I've got 2 years to do that. And it's about being honest with him as well, you know. We don't mind this behavior, but some people in other places might.
And that's the thing, Anthea. You're putting all this work and effort into trying to smooth the pathway for this child, and yet when they get to secondary school, all of that could be forgotten, and they're just left to survive rather than thrive.
Some
I,
thrive.
some do, yeah,
Yeah.
some do,
It's
but
I
too many have
recent
to survive.
I recently had a child who went to secondary and was expelled, and then went to our special unit, and he wouldn't go there either. And so someone went round to his house and went, "Look, what can I do to get you to listen to come back in?" And he went, "I'll only talk to you if Miss Carroll's there." And he was 14, and he left me 4 years ago. And so they went, "Will you talk to him with us?" I went, "Absolutely." And I said, come to school, come and do some experience here and help the caretaker. We can write you a reference then. And it was it's hard, and sometimes it's heartbreaking, but I know there is a want to change, but it's changing every single teacher in that school, and that's going to take a while,
Yeah.
because it's one teacher
Yeah.
that gets you expelled can ruin your path, because we know the more likely I think you're 80% more likely to end up in prison if you've been expelled as a child, something along those lines, and that's not okay. So
It's a lot.
let's, like Scotland, let's stop expelling them. It doesn't work. They need more,
Yeah.
not less.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's just that, I think from the Scottish research, it's like where is the unmet need? Like where is the like
Exactly.
what else have we done to before we exclude them? What have we not done? Like have we looked at sensory needs? Have we looked at occupational therapy to help with that?
Yeah.
There's so many other ticks that need to go in them boxes, whatever, before we exclude someone.
And children are not
Yeah.
responsible for the environments they grow up in.
No, not
We
absolutely.
as adults have created that environment.
Absolutely.
The government, with their deprivation and their austerity measures, they've created deprived areas. Sorry, I meant to say. So it's like we
Yeah.
can't expect kids to know all the answers themselves. Do you know what I mean? We the adults, we've got to understand them. They haven't got to understand us and come up to our level. We've got to go to their level.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's important
I'd hate to
reflection,
be
isn't
young
it?
now. I hated being young in the 80s, but I'd hate to be young now.
There's a lot more information in the world, isn't there? A lot more noise. So
Yeah, but then
yeah,
there's a
it's
lot more understanding and awareness. So we shouldn't be excluding 10,000 kids a year. There's not
yeah,
10,000 more kids in this country
Yeah.
over the last 10. Do you know what I mean? The population hasn't grown in respect to the criminal justice system. That's doubled in the last 35 years. Do you know what I mean? It's like unless we reform our education system and we stop exclusions, it doesn't matter what we do with the criminal justice system, we're going to continue to keep feeding it.
And like you said about that need, I was asked a question at a recent training, and they said, "Why aren't your kids throwing things and swearing at you and running out of classrooms and things?" And I went, "Because we meet their needs. They don't need to." I am going to have to move because my battery is about to die, and so I'm going
Oh,
to
is
have to
it?
try and find a charger, which I have here.
That's all
But you're
right.
getting a different
There
view.
it goes.
That's all right.
Oh,
We're nearly at the end anyway, so we're not.
Authenticity.
that's
Life
it.
ain't
Keep
Yeah,
it real,
perfect.
David. Keep it
Exactly.
real.
Keep it real.
that's what, and
Right.
that's why we love these conversations. Yeah. So, I had a really good point then. I was going to say.
So sorry. That was my fault.
It's all right. It's not your fault.
And
It's my
that's the
brain.
other thing we teach teachers: apologise. Say when you're wrong. Do you know what I mean? Say sorry.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, very.
Yeah,
I
especially when it
think.
comes to justice sensitivity and you're a young person and you think you're right, you're
Yeah.
not going to be convinced you're wrong.
No. I
And
tell my kids, prove me wrong. I love it.
that's something I understood later on in life, that how much that justice sensitivity of mine impacted me because I didn't understand it. Had I understand
It's
it,
a
I
good
could have
point,
used it.
David. Yeah.
I could have used well.
You'd
I
be a
couldn't use
lawyer.
it in the same way I use it today. Exactly, I might have gone down that path
Yeah.
instead of like become a well, for want of a better phrase, a criminal.
Well, when I do the training, I say, you've got to hone these children. They are your rights respecting school council leaders. They are the ones that are going to change the world. You need to say, look, and if you look at most of our, like if you look at our school council rights respecting, the majority are neurodivergent because they want to change the world and make things better. Like
Yeah.
these are brilliant people. Let's tell
And
them
they
that.
don't fit the mold. And
Yeah,
that's the problem because there shouldn't be a mold.
yeah, yeah.
Everyone's different. Everyone's different. And we should support and celebrate those differences, not try and punish them or bring them into a singularity of behaviour, whatever. Singularity of behaviour, where'd that come from?
God, that sounded well clever.
It did, didn't it? I don't think it meant anything, but
I know what you mean. It's like why do we stop them? Some of the world's greatest creations are from brains that have been very different, and we
Isaac Newton
somehow
is cradle.
stump
You
that.
telling me he weren't ADHD? Of course he was.
Steve Jobs, Richard Branson, Elon Musk,
Albert
that age,
Einstein.
like this. Yeah, and then these children exist in schools, and it's how we enable them to do those things. That's the key, isn't it?
Schools want to
We've
push
got a couple
out
of
accountants, don't they? But we need poets, we need sculptors, we need writers, we need actors, and do you know what I mean? We don't just need accountants and actuaries. We want real people coming from our schools.
yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that's right. It's not. That's the problem, isn't it?
Not saying
That's why we
accountants
end
and
up with.
actuaries aren't real people, by the way.
No, but like when I was at school, I remember someone going, "Oh, you need to go to university and do economics because that's going to be good for you." And it's like, well, no, I'd rather have just done coding and designing and creating. Ironically, that's what I do at the minute. So yeah, it's like imagine if you just supported that need, it would have been better than what it is now. But yeah,
I just wanted to be
hindsight's
a
a wonderful thing, isn't it?
policewoman. That's all I ever
Yeah.
wanted was to be a policewoman. And unfortunately, my life choices at the time meant no. But I'm now a deputy head teacher, and it means that it's the same sort of job, isn't it? It's looking after people and making sure
Yeah,
it's
I was
everything's
going to say
fair and
that.
right. And it's I absolutely love my job, so I'm very lucky.
Yeah. And you're very good at it. So, that's a wonderful note to finish on, really, is just, yeah, thank you very much for your time, your honesty,
Yeah, thanks,
being
Anthea.
able to articulate how you're doing your job and why it matters, why the children matter, and how that sort of pipeline at the beginning can be different. And
Absolutely.
for me, like my reflection on it is that understanding piece and meeting them at their level in many different ways of meeting them at their level, like emotionally, loving them. Yeah, that shone through for me. So
School
I don't know if
potential
that's for you.
pipeline.
Yeah, rename it. But yeah, it's thank you very much, Anthea.
You're welcome.
I really enjoyed talking to you, and we really enjoyed listening to you in Jersey as well. So that's why we wanted to invite you back on, because you're funny, and we'd like to, you know, at some point again come and watch you. We'd like to come to Jersey. So now we, you know, if you can get us over there, that'd be great.
Absolutely, that would be wonderful. No, and
Yeah.
thank you so much. It's been a privilege, and I just want to help. I just want to help. Want to change the world, one person at a time. So thank you
And this
so much.
conversation's another step on that journey, isn't it? You know, a few more
Thank
more
you.
heads turned. So yeah, thank you very much, David. Thank you, Anthea. I'll speak to you next time on the next podcast.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.